I was born and raised in a small town in Yorkshire. On an ordinary Tuesday morning, my life changed when I saw a job advertisement online. It was an offer I couldn't refuse, an opportunity of a lifetime. Become a personal chef for a family in Dubai. The pay was excellent, and so were the working conditions. I wouldn't have to live in the family's home. Instead, they would pay for a luxurious apartment near my workplace. Before I knew it, I was on a plane to Dubai. When I arrived at the airport, I realized the family had sent their chauffeur to pick me up. The car ride from the airport to my apartment was pretty fast, but the driver refused to turn on the AC. For some reason, he kept talking about how hot it was outside, how it was always like this in Dubai. I must admit, although I had packed accordingly, I still wasn't prepared for such heat. When we finally got to my apartment, I asked him, "Are you sure it's okay to leave the AC off? It's really hot." He turned to me, smiled, and said, "Miss, it is always hot here. If you are going to stay here, you better get used to it real soon." After I thanked him and went inside, I quickly learned he was right. It was unbearably hot. There was no AC. The apartment was modern, elegant, and very, very expensive. Still, it was far from ideal in terms of temperature. Since I was exhausted, I didn't go out until the next day. I called all the major supermarkets in the area, but none of them delivered. So I had no choice but to go to the supermarket myself. When I opened the front door, it was as if I had opened the gates to hell itself. The moment I stepped out, I felt as if someone had put a pot on my head and was boiling me alive. I started sweating profusely and immediately regretted not wearing lighter clothes. It was definitely hotter outside than what the weather forecast had predicted. The walk to the supermarket was less than half a mile, but I felt as if I had just finished running a marathon. I made it to the supermarket, but since it was indoors and air-conditioned, I could barely see through the thick glasses on my glasses. I felt nauseated and had to sit down for a few minutes until I could see clearly again. While I was sitting there, a woman approached me and introduced herself as the building manager. She also informed me that the family I worked for had sent her to give me something. When she handed me a box, I noticed that it contained new AC units. According to her, the AC units should be installed in 2 days. Until then, I was supposed to take it easy, stay indoors and not go out unless absolutely necessary. I thanked her for coming and watched her leave. Then I decided to go home, sit in the AC and wait for the next few days to pass. To kill time, I pulled out my phone and checked social media. When I read the news about 2 British tourists who died of heat stroke on a beach in the United Arab Emirates, I couldn't believe what I was reading. How could people die from being too hot? I mean, come on, it's not like someone could die from heat stroke. Even so, I decided not to go out until the AC was installed. 2 days later, the AC was finally installed. Unfortunately, it wasn't working properly. It was either too cold or too hot. Either way, it was far from comfortable. Feeling miserable, I went back to the supermarket to buy some water and frozen pizzas. On my way out, I ran into the building manager again. She apologized for the AC problems, but told me that it would be fixed in a couple of days. She also asked me if I needed anything else, to which I replied, yes, I need some AC. After I said goodbye to her, I continued on my way. Since the pizza shop was close by, I decided to walk there. Again, it was no more than a quarter of a mile, but the walk took me 15 minutes. As soon as I returned home, I locked the door behind me and jumped into my air-conditioned apartment. When I answered the door, it was the neighbor from across the hall. She was friendly and offered to lend me some spices and oils for cooking. I agreed, thanked her and waved goodbye. After she left, I continued with my preparations for dinner. Just as I was about to start heating up the pizza, the doorbell rang again. I opened the door and was surprised to see it was the same neighbor from earlier. She explained that she had forgotten her keys and asked if she could use mine to unlock her apartment. Since I had a spare key anyway, I gave it to her without hesitation. Then I went back to making dinner. A few minutes later, the doorbell rang again. Confused, I walked over to the door and opened it. But before I could say a word, the neighbor slapped me. Her face was red with anger and she yelled at me. "How dare you open the door to your apartment while wearing those clothes? Don't you know that's rude? You should have worn something decent." I could see everything. I could see your naked body. Are you stupid or something? I was shocked by what she said. I mean, I had just opened the door and was wearing a t-shirt and shorts. Then I realized that I had accidentally opened the door without closing the blinds. When she saw that I was still standing there in my underwear, she shouted, "Get your butt over to my apartment right now. You owe me this." I stared at her in disbelief and refused to move. She grabbed my arm, dragged me out of my apartment, and pulled me towards hers. I tried to pull away, but she was stronger than me. And before I knew it, I had entered her apartment. "Why did you drag me here?"